Chapter 2765. What? Damn it, Sky Edge Sect, what are you doing? When the Orokai, Mosha, arrows, and 3 sharp swords arrived, the faces of the Yi clan's patriarch and the other 2 changed drastically. Their faces were filled with terror as they screamed. Boom. But everything happened too fast. They had just defended against the Abyss Seed Undying God King, and now they had to face the Orochi's attacks. The arrows came from Mao Zedong's attacks, they were also attacks from the Immortal Slaying God. As for the 3 swords, they were 3 attacks from the Immortal Slaying God. The Immortal Slaying God had not been used for a few months, and now there were more than a dozen swords inside. In terms of power, it was much stronger than before. One could say that at this moment, the Night Clan leader and the other 2 were facing the attacks of 9 Undying God Kings. And it was a sudden attack. Boom boom boom. The Orokai and Mao Zedong's attacks instantly landed on their bodies. The powerful destructive power caused a large amount of blood to spurt out from their bodies. Their bodies were sent flying backward. Clang clang clang. The attacks of the 3 sharp swords followed closely, without the slightest pause. Ah! The Night Clan leader and the other 2 saw the terrifying attacks and unleashed a powerful aura as they erected layers of defense in front of them. Peng, peng, peng. However, the defense that was hastily released did not block the 3 sharp swords' attack. Ka. The swords pierced through the defense and landed on their bodies, worsening their injuries. Kill. The Orokai and the other 3's eyes were filled with murderous intent as they pressed forward and continued to attack. Mao Zedong's arrows came again. Oh no. Oh no. The 3 were injured from the sneak attack. Their hearts sank as they saw the Orokai and the others attacking again. Ah! Ah! When their attacks arrived, 2 screams were heard. One of the Night Clan's ancestors had his head pierced by Mao Zedong's arrow, his body trembled violently. Another ancestor's head was cut off by the Orokai. However, a sky blue shield appeared in front of the Night Clan leader's chest and blocked the Orochi's attack. No, Sky Edge Sect, how dare you collude with Dragon Palace? You're courting death. The clan leader of the Yi clan blocked the fatal attack. He looked at his father and another old ancestor, whose life force was rapidly disappearing. Until now, he still didn't understand why the 2 patriarchs of the World Edge sect attacked them. Why would the 2 patriarchs of the Sky Edge sect ally with the experts of the Dragon Palace? Weren't they mortal enemies? His father's death and the death of one of the Night Clan's patriarchs had infuriated him. Those who offend my Dragon Palace shall die. However, at this moment, a black and white shadow suddenly appeared behind him. A cold voice was transmitted into the Night Clan leader's mind. Pu. In the next moment, a sharp claw directly pierced into his chest, and a sickle-like arm cut off his head. The leader of the Yi clan, who was furious just a moment ago, was instantly silenced. What? What happened? The battle just now had only taken place in 10 seconds. 10 seconds was too short. All the experts and disciples of the Yi clan below did not have time to react to the sudden change. When they heard the 2 screams, the furious roar of the Yi clan's patriarch, and the death of the Yi clan's patriarch, everyone finally reacted. Why did the 2 patriarchs of the Sky Edge sect attack our patriarch? Why did they collude with Dragon Palace? Our patriarch was killed. Patriarch of the Sky Edge sect and Dragon Palace? How could this be? How could this be? At this moment, all the experts and disciples of the Yi clan shouted in horror when they saw their patriarch fall. Why? How could this happen? Who would have thought that the patriarchs of the Sky Edge sect and Dragon Palace would join forces to sneak an attack on their patriarch? The death of their patriarch and patriarch made their hearts tremble violently. Dragon Palace and Sky Edge sect killed our patriarch and patriarch. Be careful, be careful. An elder of the Yi clan came to his senses and immediately shouted at everyone. Retreat! Retreat now! An elder of the Yi clan shouted hurriedly. There were a group of abyss demons in front of them, but the sudden change and the death of their patriarch and patriarch made them extremely terrified. At this moment, they could no longer fight. Kill. However, at this moment, a cold roar was heard from the side. Fut, fut, fut. At the side, The venom-horned dragons that were parasitizing the experts of the Sky Edge sect moved at this moment. Because of the alliance between the Sky Edge sect and the Yi clan, they were all on the same side. The sudden attack caught many people of the Yi clan off guard. In an instant, tens of thousands of experts and disciples of the Yi clan were killed. Especially the venom-horned dragons that were parasitizing the three elders of the Sky Edge sect. While the Yi clan was still in a state of shock and anger, the venom-horned dragons sneaked an attack on the three elders of the Yi clan and killed them instantly. The Sky Edge sect has betrayed us. Kill them. Kill them. An elder of the Yi clan roared with bloodshot eyes when he saw the three elders of the Sky Edge sect kill three of their elders. However, at this moment, most of the people of the Sky Edge sect were also dumbfounded. Why did the patriarch and the others sneak attack the patriarch of the Yi clan? Why did their elders suddenly attack the people of the Yi clan? However, when they saw the surrounding experts of the Yi clan lock onto them with murderous intent, their expressions changed drastically. Boom, boom, boom. A series of attacks were launched towards them. Kill. Seeing the attacks, they could only fight back. If they didn't fight back, they would die. However, once they fought back, the situation became chaotic. Kill them. In the center, more than a dozen elders of the Yi clan looked at the three elders of the Sky Edge sect. They clenched their fists and roared. They attacked the three elders of the Sky Edge Great sect in unison. Fut, fut, fut. All of a sudden, sounds of something penetrating could be heard. 6th elder, 8th elder, 13th elder, 5th elder, what are you doing? What are you doing? The dozen elders who rushed over suddenly heard the changes beside them. 9 of them looked over and their eyes widened instantly. They were filled with disbelief. Ha ha ha, the Dragon Palace is invincible. All of you must die. An excited voice came from the three elders of the Yi clan. There were 3 corpses beside them. You actually, the remaining 9 elders couldn't believe it. The elders of the Yi clan, who were the core of the Yi clan, had been betrayed. Their descendants were all members of the Yi clan. The blood of the Yi clan flowed in their veins. Why do you want to kill me? Why? There's a traitor in the Yi clan. Chapter 2766, Uproar. Complete uproar. On the Night Clan's side, everyone panicked. The 3 patriarchs of the Night Clan were suddenly killed. The elders of the Sky Edge ambushed them and killed them. The 3 elders betrayed them and ambushed them. At this moment, cries of pain and terror could be heard from behind. The experts of the Night Clan were attacking their own people. Many of the Night Clan were dumbfounded. What was going on? Were they hallucinating? The 3 elders betrayed us, the Sky Edge betrayed us, and now we have people who betrayed us. Retreat, retreat, retreat. The 9 elders scanned the surroundings with their blood-red eyes as they ordered loudly, feeling like their hearts were collapsing. Even the elders could betray them. How many of the disciples could betray them? Were there any more traitors among the 9 elders? Chaos, complete chaos. Especially at this moment, the abyss creatures were already charging over. Internal chaos, the Sky Edge sect and the Night Clan fighting, and the betrayal of the elders. How could they fight at this moment? In the sky, the 3-peak undying God King abyss creatures were stunned. What was going on? The 5 who were fighting against them just now were fighting amongst themselves. And 3 of them were killed. Kill. Kill everyone from the Night Clan. At this moment, the Yaki demon fiend and the others moved. They locked onto the 9 elders of the Night Clan and charged over with terrifying aura. The demon fiend waved his arm and terrifying flames engulfed the Night Clan. The Sky Edge sect and Dragon Palace betrayed us and killed our patriarch and 2 patriarchs. Protector of the Imperial Court, please send reinforcement. One of the Night Clan's patriarchs saw the Yaki demon fiend and his heart pounded as he roared. Something happened to the Night Clan. Oh no, the Sky Edge sect and Dragon Palace joined forces? At this moment, the Imperial Court on the right side of Dragon Peak sensed the changes in the Night Clan. Especially the roar of the Night Clan's patriarch and the furious orders of the elders. This gave them a bad premonition. Attack. At this moment, A cold voice rang in the ears of the imperial court's experts and disciples. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. A sky full of arrows suddenly rained down on them. All the imperial court's experts and disciples were shocked. At this moment, they were fighting against the abyss creatures in front of them. Boom. Dragon Palace, are you rebelling? Dragon King, are you courting death? You actually dare to attack people from the imperial dynasty. Do you know what you are doing? In the sky, the 4 protectors of the imperial court were fighting with the 4 undying god king peak abyssal beasts. Sensing the sky full of arrows, they roared with ugly expressions. This small dragon palace actually dared to resist the people who attacked the imperial court. Were they tired of living? Ha ha ha, all the disciples of Dragon Palace, kill them all. Kill everyone from the imperial court today. Maniacal laughter could be heard as figures dashed out one after another. Wang Xian took the lead. His palms turned into dragon claws as he charged towards the imperial court. Beside him, roving heavens, roving qi, roving xingmu, roving sword, and 3 dragon guards were riding on the horizon ruler. An expert from the Dragon Palace was riding on the dragon machinery, roving phoenix, and roving earth. Similarly, they were charging towards the imperial court with a terrifying aura. As for sky formation, he stood on the command platform, controlling the array formation to block the abyssal race in front of him. Oh no, the experts of Dragon Palace are coming. SSS, what terrifying aura. Pinnacle Undying God King. The Dragon King and the rest are all Pinnacle Undying God King expert. Lord Protector. When Wang Xian and the group dashed over, some experts could sense their prowess. Their eyes widened and were filled with shock. That terrifying aura belonged to all Pinnacle Undying God King expert. 1, 2, 3, 9, a total of 9. How is this possible? The 4 protectors who were fighting the Pinnacle Undying God King Abyss Beasts felt the aura of Wang Xian and the rest. They looked over and their hearts raced. Die. A cold voice reverberated across the area as the terrifying dragon claws struck towards all the experts and disciples of the imperial court. Die. Roving heavens, roving qi, roving xingmu, and the rest of the members attacked as well. Destructive attacks engulfed everyone. Dragon King, stop. All of you stop. If you dare to kill the disciples of the imperial court, we will not let you off. We will not let the Dragon Palace off. All of you from the Dragon Palace will suffer from the revenge of the imperial court. Stop. An imperial court protector looked over and roared in fear. His voice reverberated across the entire battlefield. Ha ha ha, imperial court, we will kill your people today. None of you can leave today. Do you think the Dragon Palace doesn't know about the plot of the imperial court and Emperor Night God? To let the Dragon Palace fight the abyss beasts to the death. Even if we succeed in the end, the imperial court will punish us in the future. Ha ha ha, today is the day the imperial court pays the price. All of you will die. All of you will die. Wang Xian roared with murderous intent. It had been a long time since Wang Xian had such murderous intent. His disciple, Bei Shuang, was killed. The imperial court and Emperor Night God had schemed against the Dragon Palace and wanted to destroy them. All of these had made Wang Xian decide to fall out with the imperial court. This time, he would kill as many people from the imperial court as he could. Moreover, Wang Xian was very satisfied with the start of the battle. What's going on? The Dragon Palace is attacking the Night Race Imperial Court? SSS, what are the Dragon Palace doing? Are they courting death? Damn it, the Dragon Palace actually attacked the Imperial Court and Night Race at this moment. All disciples, get ready to retreat from the abyss. When the other forces heard the roars, their expressions changed. Some were shocked. Some were furious. There were also people who were incomparably shocked and furious. The Dragon Palace actually attacked the Imperial Court and Night Race. The Sky Edge sect actually allied with the Dragon Palace. Unbelievable. Protectors, save me. Save me, protectors. No no no, I don't want to die. Rumble rumble rumble. Panic and despair descended. The 20 million disciples of the Imperial Court looked at the attacks descending upon them in fear. The full-powered attacks of the 9 Undying God King experts covered all of them. They couldn't block it. They couldn't block it at all. Even if they went all out, they could at most block the attacks of 2 Undying God King experts. But this time, there were too many of them. A destructive attack that seemed like the end of the world descended upon them. Countless disciples roared and cried for help. Those princes and princesses who were once proud of the great imperial court were filled with despair at this moment. No. The 4 protectors of the imperial court looked over and roared with unwillingness. Emperor Knight God Emperor, save our people. Chapter 2767, Lord Knight God Emperor, save our imperial dynasty people. When one of the protectors from the imperial court called for help, Knight God Emperor, who was fighting against the Void God Emperor Abyss Seed in the sky, had an extremely ugly expression on his face. Hong hong hong. In front of him, the Void God Emperor Abyss species sent waves of berserk energy towards him. In the sky above, a flame occupied one side of the sky, and a sky blue water law occupied the other. But on his side, the ferocious flames continued to charge at him. At this moment, Knight God Emperor realized that compared to some of the older Void God Emperors, there was still a huge gap. At least he knew that he wasn't the opponent of this Void God Emperor Abyss species. After all, he had just become a Void God Emperor a few days ago and hadn't fully settled down. But because of his inheritance, he could block the attacks of the Abyss species. Even if he couldn't win, he wouldn't lose in a short period of time. But the Void God Emperor's Abyss species was incomparably berserk, and his attacks came one after another. He could only block it time and time again. What he didn't know was that this Abyss species was extremely berserk in its heart. Recently, it realized that many of its underlings had died. Especially the last time, 3 of them had died at once. At that time, it was being suppressed by a fella giving off white light and couldn't go over to help. This time, it was attacking again. Did it really think it was easy to bully? That was why it flew over and attacked this fella fiercely, to let this fella know how strong it was. Damn it! Knight God Emperor looked down and saw that terrifying aura. His eyes were filled with killing intent. Just now, when the Knight Clan Patriarch roared, he had already sensed it. But because of the attacks of the Abyss species, he couldn't focus on it. Now that he looked over, endless rage surged in his heart. Over at the Knight Clan, the 2 old ancestors of the Sky Edge sect were killing the Knight Clan people. Over at the Imperial Dynasty, the 9-peak Undying God King's attacks covered everyone in the Imperial Dynasty. His descendant, the Knight Clan Patriarch, the father of the Knight Clan Patriarch, and the other old ancestor were all dead. Who? Dragon Palace Dragon King, you are courting death. You are asking for it. At this moment, the Knight God Emperor couldn't help but let out a roar as he bellowed furiously at the people below. Boom boom boom. However, as soon as he finished speaking, an incomparably terrifying explosion came from below. The powerful force was not inferior to the battlefield on his side. Ah! No no no! A blood-curdling scream resounded throughout the battlefield. At this moment, the entire abyssal species battlefield suddenly fell silent. Everyone in the surroundings looked over in shock. Their eyes were wide open and filled with shock. At this moment, even countless abyssal species paused and looked over in shock. The all-out attack of 9 peak stage God King powerhouses landed in the same area. With such terrifying energy, even the abyssal species revealed a look of horror. In the sky, the Void God Emperor Abyss Seed that was currently furiously attacking the Knight God Emperor also looked down. Looking at the wave of attacks, Zhong Xian was slightly taken aback, his eyes filled with doubt. As a God Emperor level abyssal species, his intelligence was no weaker than an ordinary human's. The situation below seemed to be an internal strife between humans. Moreover, those dozen or so people were comparable to his strongest subordinates. Internal strife between humans? This Dragon Palace is actually attacking the Imperial Court. That attack. SSS, why does the Dragon Palace have so many terrifying experts? Peak stage God Kings, all of them are peak stage God Kings. At this moment, all the forces and experts focused their attention on this area. Their eyes were wide open and filled with shock. From the Sky Edge sect and the experts of the Dragon Palace joining forces to ambush the Knight Clan, to the Dragon King leading 8 peak stage God Kings to cover all the experts and disciples of the Imperial Court with one move. When the experts scanned the area with their spiritual senses, they could sense that there was no longer any signs of life in that space. No, there were still a few hundred signs of life. But this was the Imperial Court's 20 million experts and disciples. Even if they weren't the core of the Imperial Court, there were still over 20 elder-level existences. And they were gone just like that. Night God Emperor, it's not our Dragon Palace that is seeking death. It's your Night Clan and the Imperial Court that are seeking death. During this period of time, our Dragon Palace will return all the humiliation you have suffered. Ha ha ha. Wang Xian lifted his head and looked into the sky. His eyes were filled with coldness and eeriness. Laozu, 2 Laozu from the Dragon Palace and the Sky Edge sect have killed 3 of our Laozu. There are many traitors in our Night Clan. They have betrayed us. Laozu, hurry up and kill them. Just as Wang Xian finished his sentence, an elder on the left shouted at Night God Emperor. He, one day, Night God Emperor will join you. This is the consequence of offending our Dragon Palace. Orokai laughed with a sinister look. All of you, die. Night God Emperor was burning with anger. His eyes were bloodshot and the surrounding blue seawater was boiling. He waved his arm and a water dragon pillar was formed. However, at this moment, a ferocious roar could be heard in front of him. A gigantic figure charged directly towards the Night God Emperor. Bastard, get lost. Night God Emperor bellowed furiously. When the Void God Emperor Abyss Seed heard him, a ferocious glint flashed in its eyes and the murderous aura on its body intensified. Ha ha ha, continue. Kill all the disciples of the Night Clan of the Imperial Court today. Seeing Night God Emperor being entangled by the Void God Emperor Abyss Seed, Wang Xian laughed and ordered. Dragon King, do you know what you are doing? The wrath of the Imperial Court isn't something you can bear. Not far away, the 4 guardians of the Imperial Court looked as though they were bleeding as they bellowed furiously. Ha ha ha, Imperial Court, even if we don't do anything today, will you let us off? If it wasn't for our Dragon Palace controlling the 2 Laozu from the Sky Edge sect, we wouldn't have known about the plot between you and Night God Emperor. Kill. Wang Xian locked his cold eyes on the 4 guardians of the Imperial Court with murderous intent. Kill, kill, kill. Beside him, Ao Chitian, Ao Qi, and the rest roared and charged over. All experts and disciples of the forces, listen up. The Imperial Court will issue a kill order. All forces, attack the people of the Dragon Palace. All forces, attack. After this battle, the Imperial Court will reward you according to your contributions. Seeing Wang Xian and the rest charging over, one of the guardians of the Imperial Court announced loudly. Anyone who goes against the Dragon Palace shall die. But just as he finished his sentence, Wang Xian issued a warning. Chapter 2768. This, ESSS, the Imperial Court has issued an order. What should we do? What should we do? How many Immortal King Peak Immortal King experts does Dragon Palace have? At least a dozen. Are we going against Dragon Palace? When everyone heard the orders of the guardians of the Imperial Court and Wang Xian's words, their expressions changed drastically. Help the Imperial Court attack Dragon Palace? But when they saw the large number of corpses in the void above the Imperial Court, their hearts pounded violently. Dragon Palace actually had a dozen Immortal King Peak Immortal King experts. If Dragon Palace were to take revenge, this Emperor orders all forces to attack Dragon Palace immediately. Those who disobey this order, this Emperor will personally annihilate you all. However, at this moment, a loud voice filled with rage came from the highest point in the sky. Night God Emperor's expression was extremely ugly as he withstood the attacks of the God Emperor level Abyss species in front of him. He was extremely frustrated. Dragon Palace's Dragon King must die, must die. In front of him, the Immortal Emperor Abyss species that he was fighting heard him and roared with 3 eyes, issuing orders. Gagaga. At this moment, the group of Immortal King Peak Immortal King Abyss species roared in response and gave orders to their underlings. The next moment, all the Abyss species retreated. They wanted to avoid this battle. They wanted to watch the humans fight amongst themselves. The Abyss species retreated. They retreated. At this moment, Everyone was shocked to see the Abyss species retreating. But this was a good thing for the Night Race Protector and the rest. But it was also a good thing for Dragon Palace. All forces, attack now. Attack and annihilate Dragon Palace. The 4 Imperial Court Protectors roared. All forces heard this and their expressions changed drastically. All Sky Demon cult disciples, get ready to help the Imperial Court and Night Race against Dragon Palace. The old ancestor of Sky Demon cult hesitated before roaring. The Imperial Court had given the order and so had Emperor Night God. If they didn't act, the Imperial Court and Night God Emperor might annihilate them. Now that they were going against Dragon Palace, they wouldn't be annihilated as long as they were careful. Attack the Dragon Palace. We are on the side of the Imperial Court and the Night Clan. We are traitors who attacked the humans. Some of the other forces on the Cold Night Island immediately chimed in. On the Demon Island of the 9 Clouds, Yu and the others heard the orders from the Imperial Court and Night God Monarch, and their expressions kept changing. The leaders of the North River sect, the Dragon Python group, and the Ancient God dynasty turned pale. The threat of the Night God Emperor was too great. Ha ha ha, all enemies of the Dragon Palace, kill. Seeing this, Wang Xian was still laughing heartily. TSK, it's time for a massacre. With the retreat of the abyssal races, the heavenly formation did not need to be activated to stop them. His eyes were filled with fighting spirit and awe. It was very, very old. There had never been such a carefree and bloody battle. He controlled Dragon Peak and immediately attacked the 4 protectors of the Imperial Court. Anyone who dares to offend my Dragon Palace shall die. Those who offend my Dragon Palace shall die. Boom boom boom. At this moment, murderous voices came from outside the abyss. At least hundreds of thousands of people roared in unison, causing everyone to be slightly startled. A ferocious and violent murderous aura surged over. All the forces, over 100 million people, immediately looked towards the back. This is SSS, oh my god, this is, shocked, incoherent voices were heard. Everyone widened their eyes and their mouths were slightly agape. Even the 9 Clouds sect, Heaven-Shattering sect, and Yu sect were dumbfounded. From outside the abyss, about 200,000 figures were charging over. There were dragons and phoenixes with surging heavenly lightning and earthly fire. There were imperial dragons that were emitting earthly yellow radiance. There were berserk dragons that were surrounded by violent blood-red energy. There were dragon guards that looked emotionless, holding sharp swords in their hands. A total of 200,000 members unleashed their powerful aura at the same time. They lined up in a row, and none of them was weaker than a level 1 immortal god king. 200,000 members of the Dragon Palace charged over. All of them are immortal god kings. All of them. Is this the full strength of the Dragon Palace? This time, there are only 300,000 experts from all the forces here, including the 70,000 from the Dragon Palace. Now, all the forces felt their scalps go numb when they saw the experts from the Dragon Palace charging over. This meant that the Dragon Palace had close to 300,000 immortal god kings. Motherfucker, how terrifying. Gulp. All the experts and disciples of the Sky Demon sect swallowed their saliva as they looked at the experts from the Dragon Palace charging over. Dragon Palace already had a huge advantage, and now with another 200,000 immortal god kings, how could they fight? Fuck, without the Dragon Palace, we don't even know if the Dragon Python group would still exist. If we don't kill the people from the Dragon Palace, they will destroy us. Fuck, the Dragon Python group is not ungrateful people. All brothers, let's destroy the Imperial Court and the Night Race. There is not a single coward in the Dragon Python group. The leaders of the Dragon Python group exchanged glances, gritted their teeth and shouted. Given the current situation, they could either go against the Dragon Palace or be destroyed by the Night God Emperor. But the Dragon Python group was not the kind of people who would bite the hand that fed them. Moreover, with the Dragon Palace's current prowess, the Dragon King might have a backup plan for the war against the Imperial Court and the Night Race. Then let's give it a shot. Believe in the Dragon Palace, believe in the Dragon King. All disciples of the North Stream sect, the Imperial Court did not care when the Night God Emperor killed our deputy sect leader. We will follow the Dragon King in this war. The North Stream sect leader raised his head and shouted with a flushed face. Fuck, all disciples of the Moon sect, follow the Dragon King and fight for the Dragon Palace. Ancient God Dynasty, fight for the Dragon Palace, fight for our former comrades in the Northern Line. At this moment, the leader of the Ancient God Dynasty, a Moon sect, shouted. At this time, there was a 90% chance that they would be killed by the Dragon Palace. After being killed, they would have to bear the reputation of being ungrateful people. Why not fight for the Dragon Palace? Even if they died in battle, they would have a clear conscience. A clear conscience. Fight for it. When they shouted it out, they felt extremely carefree. The battle in the deep abyss concerns the survival of mankind. The Nine Heavens sect can help, but the civil war between the Imperial Court and the Night Race has nothing to do with us. We do not want to be involved, and we will not be the dogs of other forces. All disciples of the Nine Heavens sect, retreat out of the deep abyss immediately. A Moon sect and 4 decent forces were fighting for the Dragon Palace. The patriarchs of the Nine Heavens sect were shocked. They looked at each other and shouted with sullen faces. They would not participate in this war. Chapter 2769, The Battle in the Abyss concerns the survival of mankind. The Heaven-Shattering sect can intervene, but the war between the Imperial Court and the Night Clan has nothing to do with us. We don't want to get involved. All disciples of the Heaven-Shattering sect, retreat out of the abyss. When the Patriarch of the Nine Heavens sect announced that he wouldn't participate in the battle, the Heaven-Shattering sect didn't hesitate. They repeated the Patriarch's words and glanced at all the disciples. Retreat. The voices were heard again. Everyone moved and retreated out of the abyss. The Nine Heavens sect and the Heaven-Shattering sect took the lead. All their disciples flew out of the abyss without hesitation. Let's go too. Fuck. Dragon Palace has sent another 200,000 divine kings. We'll be courting death if we stay here. We're not going to participate in this. We won't participate in this either. This is a grudge between the Dragon Palace and the Imperial Court and the Night Clan. Moreover, the Dragon Palace has already made preparations in advance. Nearly 300,000 divine kings are here to wipe out the Imperial Court and the Night Clan. In the surroundings, some of the smaller forces had ugly expressions on their faces when they saw this. They didn't care about the orders of the Night God Emperor or the Imperial Court anymore. Dragon Palace had 270,000 divine kings and a dozen peak immortal king gods. How many of them could guarantee their own survival if they fought the Dragon Palace? Not many. At least if they retreated now, they could escape if the Night God Emperor and the Imperial Court wanted to kill them. They didn't believe that they couldn't escape the pursuit of the Night God Emperor and the Night Clan with so many people. They could just go to other galaxies. It was better than dying now. Everyone from the Sky Demon cult saw that most of the factions were retreating out of the abyss and their expressions changed. Nine Heavens, Heaven-Shattering, you disobeyed the God Emperor's order. Death awaits you even if you escape this time. The Patriarch of the Sky Demon cult roared with an embarrassed expression. He couldn't back down now. He had just said that he would obey the orders of the Night Clan and the Imperial Court. Now, 200,000 divine kings had rushed out from the Dragon Palace. This was especially true since the other great sects had directly retreated. At this time, he couldn't retreat, but he also couldn't not retreat. However, the Nine Heavens sword and the Heaven-Shattering sword ignored the words of the progenitor of the Sky Demon cult. The experts of the two sects led their disciples and flew out. There were also hundreds of big and small forces following behind them. Everyone from Dragon Palace, we will not participate in this matter. The Patriarch of the Nine Heavens Great Sect and the others immediately cupped their fists and went around the 200,000 members of the Dragon Palace. Today, we will only kill our enemies. Aosier swept his gaze across the crowd and said plainly, "Thank you." The old ancestor of the Nine Heavens Great Sect and the others immediately signaled to the disciples and flew away from the Dragon Palace. How terrifying. 200,000 God Kings. When I approached them just now, I actually felt suffocated. The Dragon Palace is too strong. They must have prepared for this battle to destroy the Imperial Court and the Night Clan. Who would have thought that it would be like this? If the people on the smart computer knew, it would definitely shock the entire Imperial Star region. The disciples of the organizations brushed past the 200,000 god kings of the Dragon Palace. All of them let out a sigh of relief as they discussed in fear. SSS, this, at this very moment, the 4 guardians of the Imperial Court trembled when they saw the 200,000 god kings of the Dragon Palace charging towards them. How can there be so many experts in the Dragon Palace? Damn it. Everyone, run. Get out of the abyss now. Once we get out, we'll inform the Great Ancestor to destroy them. Run. One of the guardians of the Imperial Court roared with an awful look. Run. 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 All disciples of the Sky Demon cult, run, run. The forces of the Sky Demon cult, the remaining few hundred people of the Imperial Court, and the Night Clan all flew out in fear. Trying to run? None of you will escape today. Tianjin stood on the Dragon Peak, his eyes filled with cold killing intent. He waved his palm and immediately conjured 3 thorny monsters. Kill the 4 guardians of the Imperial Court first. Wang Xian let out a low roar and gave the order to everyone around him. Rumble, rumble, rumble. In an instant, Ao Chitian, Ao Qi, and Ao Xingmu surrounded the 4 guardians of the Imperial Court. The 3 thorny monsters attacked the 4 of them at the same time. Trying to kill us? Dream on. Dragon King, Dragon Palace, wait for your punishment. The 4 guardians of the Imperial Court roared with bloodshot eyes. Rumble, rumble, rumble. However, what greeted them was a series of horrifying attacks. Bam, bam, bam. The 3 thorny monsters formed by the array surrounded them and swept their thorny vines over. Bam, bam, bam. Countless thorny vines attacked the 4 of them and the 4 of them slashed at them with their weapons. Oh no. But soon, the 4 of them had a drastic change in their expressions as they were thrown back. There was a look of fear in his eyes. In just a moment of collision, they could feel that they were absolutely no match for the 3 thorny monsters. Die. At this time, the leaders of the Dragon Palace surrounded them. Fear flashed in the eyes of the 4 guardians of the Imperial Court. Run. Run now. As long as we can escape, it'll be the doomsday of the Dragon Palace. They gritted their teeth and roared. Hee hee. However, what greeted them was the frenzied attacks of the members of the Dragon Palace. TSK, TSK, TSK. Trash from the Night Clan, how dare you escape? Brothers, surround them. At the side, Yaki Demon Fiend and the other 2 were wreaking havoc on the Night Clan. Not even half of the 10 million members of the Night Clan were left alive by Yaki Demon Fiend and the other 2. At this time, they were desperately trying to escape from the abyss. When Yaki Demon Fiend and the other 2 saw this, their faces were filled with mockery. Ao Xie, stop them. Leave no one alive. Yaki Demon Fiend bellowed at Ao Xie, who was leading the 200,000 divine kings. Don't worry. None of them can escape today. Those who want to deal with us can forget about escaping too. Kill them. Ao Xie and the others had blocked off the path of retreat for the Night Clan. The aura emitted by 200,000 divine kings was extremely horrifying. All the members of the Night Clan were filled with fear and despair. If they wanted to escape from the abyss, they had to break through the defense of the 200,000 experts of the Dragon Palace. The chances of breaking through were too slim. All experts of the Sky Demon cult, follow me. The patriarch of the Sky Demon cult roared with bloodshot eyes. He gritted his teeth and led the experts of the Sky Demon cult to fly forward. They wanted to break through the siege. The patriarch of the Sky Demon cult would never have thought that his decision would put them in such a desperate situation. Chapter 2770, TSK, 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 isn't it just a peak undying God King? Brothers, let's stop him. When Ao Xie saw the old ancestor of the heavenly demon cult charging towards them, his face turned cold. With a loud roar, he charged forward. Boom, boom, boom. More than a dozen Ninth-Order Immortal God King Realm experts rushed over, and a terrifying wave of energy shot towards the heavenly devil cult's old ancestor. Scram! The old ancestor's face turned ugly when he saw the group of Ninth-Order Immortal King Realm experts charging towards him. He raised his hands, and a bolt of lightning shot towards the front. He wanted to open up a path of life and death. Ha ha ha, block it. Aosia roared, and the dozen of them attacked at the same time. The terrifying lightning was extinguished in an instant. What? The old ancestor's face fell. Our dragon palace has sent out almost all of our forces. If we still let you guys escape, then we can commit suicide. At this time, behind the Night Clan and the Heavenly Demon Sect, over 40,000 archers, all of them were starwood dragons that looked like treants. They flew out from the dragon peak, and their eyes were filled with a cold light. Fire! One of the Ninth Order Immortal King Arrow dragons roared, and hundreds of thousands of arrows shot towards the front. Not good, old ancestor, open up a path, the Dragon Palace's experts are coming. Old ancestor, quick, we're surrounded. Woo woo woo, I don't want to die, I don't want to die. Why did the old ancestor choose to help the Night Clan against the Dragon Palace? Why? When the experts from the Dragon Peak flew out, all the Heavenly Demon Sect's disciples and the other faction's disciples were on the verge of collapsing. There were a total of 270,000 Undying God Kings. And here, they only had around 30,000 Undying God Kings. The difference was just too great. Especially when they saw the old ancestor being held down, many of them were on the verge of collapsing. Even a peak God King like the old ancestor was being held down. How were they going to escape? They were in despair, and so were the Night Clan. How could this be? How could this be? I don't want to die, I don't want to die. In the middle of the Night Clan, young Emperor Yi stood there, his face pale as he roared. He looked around in disbelief. Not long ago, he was the high and mighty young master of the Night Clan. Even the leaders and ancestors of the great sects had to be polite to him. Even the Imperial Court's protector had betrothed the Imperial Court's princess to him. But now, his father and grandfather were both dead. There was a high chance that he would be killed. This dragon palace, era. Right at this moment, a blood-curdling scream came from the side. His eyes widened and were filled with shock. Fresh blood splattered on his face. Beside him, an arrow had pierced through the head of a god king from the Night Clan. Horrifying, horrifying. I don't want to die. I don't want to die. He shook his head crazily and looked up. Patriarch, save me, he shouted desperately, looking like he was about to collapse. However, the Night God Emperor couldn't care less about them. The Night God Emperor, who was being violently attacked by the God Emperor level Abyss species, could only continuously defend and did not dare to be distracted. Buzz. At this moment, young Emperor Yi felt a horrifying aura coming towards him. His eyes widened, and his pupils were filled with despair. Hey, look who this is. Young master of the Night Clan, hey. An eerie voice came into his mind. Young Emperor Yi felt his body being grabbed by a huge hand. Don't kill me. Don't kill me. Otherwise, the Patriarch will not let you off. His body trembled as he shouted with all his might. Hehe, a piece of trash like you dares to be arrogant to our Dragon King? How boring. Die. Orokai used his energy hand to grab young Emperor Yi's body. Seeing him almost peeing in his pants, he felt bored. He waved his arm and crushed young Emperor Yi's body. There was no scream. A corpse floated to the side. At this time, there were no Night Clan elders by his side to protect him, nor were there any Night Clan experts to help him. Even when he was killed, the surrounding Night Clan members didn't even look over. Because at this moment, all of them couldn't even take care of themselves. Let's go and kill that old thing from the Sky Demon Sect, Orokai said to Devil Fiend, who was beside him. With a flash, he dashed over. Phew. At the same time, at the exit of the abyss, tens of millions of people including Zhu Xiao Duantian flew over and heaved a sigh of relief. Some of them looked behind them. They could only vaguely see the experts of Dragon Palace surrounding them. Until now, no one had come out from the abyss. In the sky ahead, the four guardians of the Imperial Court were besieged by the experts of Dragon Palace. They didn't seem to be able to put up any resistance. At this moment, they couldn't help but feel lucky. Lucky that they didn't make an enemy out of Dragon Palace. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to walk out of the abyss today. Dragon Palace is even more terrifying than the Abyss Clan, some of the experts said in fear. Ha ha ha, kill, kill, kill. Fuck the Imperial Court. Kids, let's destroy them. At this moment, they heard a violent voice from the planet at the front line of the Imperial Court. Everyone widened their eyes and turned around to look at the planets at the front line of the Imperial Court. This is. Dragon Palace didn't just attack the Imperial Court and Night Clan in the Abyss. They have also set up a trap outside. An old man from the Nine Heavens Great Sect squinted his eyes as he exclaimed in shock. If I remember correctly, the Imperial Court still has a guardian here. Given the current situation, that guardian has been killed. The sect master of the heaven-shattering sect opened his mouth and said in shock. It can't be. How many peak immortal king-god-king experts does Dragon Palace have? This is too terrifying. The surrounding experts couldn't help but exclaim. Look over there. There's a group of people flying in the sky. There are at least 10 to 20,000 divine kings. Suddenly, another expert pointed in a direction and couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. Over there, a group of God-King experts were flying from one planet to another. There were at least 10 to 20,000 divine kings. How terrifying! How terrifying! Gulp! Everyone swallowed their saliva. From the start until now, Dragon Palace had already shown that they had close to 300,000 divine kings. Woo-woo! Woo-woo! However, just as everyone was shocked by the battle at the back, a unique roar came from within the abyss. The roar was like a sound wave, unique and eerie. However, even though they were at the entrance of the abyss, they could still feel a primordial aura rushing towards them. What's that? Another God Emperor level abyss species? Chapter 2771, Woo Woo. It sounded like an ancient voice, as if a terrifying existence in the abyss had awakened. It was like a special sound wave, unique and creepy. The sudden sound caught everyone's attention. Standing outside the abyss, Nine Heavens Sect, Heaven-Breaking Sect and the other forces widened their eyes in shock. This voice, this roar, definitely came from an existence at the level of a God Emperor. Another Void God Emperor Abyss species has appeared in the abyss. This ASSS, this is bad. We only have one Void God Emperor on our side. If another God Emperor Abyss species appears, they might attack us. The crowd growled in a low voice, their eyes fixed on the abyss in front of them. It was a pity that the God Emperor Abyss species was too far away. They couldn't see it at all. The situation is bad enough. I didn't expect another Void God Abyss species to appear. Some of them had a bitter look on their faces. The frontline planet of the Imperial Court is under attack by Dragon Palace. Some escaping disciples of the Imperial Court have spread the news on the artificial intelligence system. The artificial intelligence system is in an uproar now. A middle-aged man looked at the information on the artificial intelligence system and said to the old ancestor and the others, make an announcement immediately. The Nine Heavens Sect can fight against the Abyss species, but we won't participate in the internal conflicts of humans. The old ancestor of the Nine Heavens Sect frowned slightly. He turned on his artificial intelligence system and said to the sect leader, Yes, old ancestor. The sect leader took out his artificial intelligence system and turned it on. There were all sorts of news about Dragon Palace attacking the frontline planet of the Imperial Court. Countless disciples of the Imperial Court were shouting angrily that they would annihilate everyone from Dragon Palace and any forces related to Dragon Palace. They would let them know the consequences of attacking their planet. There were also countless comments. A Dragon Palace dared to attack the Imperial Court? Was Dragon Palace digging its own grave? The sect leader shook his head slightly as he read the messages. The entire Imperial Star Domain still didn't know what was happening in the abyss. The sect leader immediately wrote a message and released it in the name of the Nine Heavens Sect. Follow the sect leader's example. We will send one too. The old ancestor of Heaven-Breaking Sect instructed. Woo-woo. But at this moment, the voice was heard again. Everyone looked into the abyss again, their faces solemn. This is bad. Another God Emperor level abyss species is coming this way. At the same time, in the sky above the abyss, Night God Emperor heard this voice again, and his expression instantly turned ugly. This Void God Emperor Abyss seed in front of him had already given him a hard time, and now there was another one. Didn't Imperial Dynasty say that there was only one God Emperor Abyss Seed? His face was dark as he looked around. It was time to escape. Another Void God Emperor Abyss species had appeared. This was no longer something he could fight against. If he was not careful, he might be heavily injured. Find a way to escape and destroy the Dragon Palace. His face was extremely gloomy as he thought. Roar. However, the God Emperor's Abyss-type berserk attacks made it hard for him to escape. If he could have left earlier, he would have already left and destroyed the Dragon Palace. Damn it! He gritted his teeth, and a fierce light flashed in his eyes. He was ready to fight with his life on the line. When the God Emperor-class Abyss species in front heard the deep voice approaching, a look of surprise flashed in its eyes. It should be the only one guarding this place. Why would another God Emperor come? From this voice, it should be one of the two from the giant beast system. It roared and immediately sent out a message to attack the person in front of it. This person seemed slightly weak to it. In a one-on-one situation, it could suppress him. If that person from the giant beast system came again, even if it could not kill him here, it could still injure him heavily. However, its roar did not receive any reply. Xiao Zhai, I sensed the aura of the Dragon King. Over there, over there. The one who let out the ancient voice was Xiao Zhai, Kuan. Above Xiao Zhai's head, the earthling stood and pointed in a direction. Woo-woo. Xiao Zhai's huge eyes swept across and his gaze landed on that figure. He felt a familiar feeling from him. His big brother's body also contained this kind of aura, and it was very familiar. He roared and increased his speed as he flew towards that figure. Amen. That Void God Emperor Abyss Seed saw Xiao Zhai flying towards that group of humans. It felt suspicious and its body paused. However, it did not communicate with him. What does this Void God Emperor Abyss Seed want? When the Void God Emperor Abyss Seed in front of him paused, Night God Emperor was slightly startled. Its target is the rest of the humans. God Emperor Abyss Seeds all have extremely high intelligence. It knows that it will be hard to kill me, so it is attacking the rest of the humans. Night God Emperor suddenly saw a flash of light in front of him. The humans in front of him were mostly experts from the Dragon Palace. According to his senses, there were 270,000 God Kings in the Dragon Palace. This was definitely all the power of the Dragon Palace. If that Void God Emperor Abyss Seed charged over, the Dragon Palace would not be able to defend against it. That God Emperor Abyss Seed could easily slaughter everyone in the Dragon Palace. Thinking of this, he dispelled the thought of escaping immediately. Instead, he continued to tangle with the Void God Emperor Abyss Seed in front of him. Your Dragon Palace is lucky. There is no pain in dying in the hands of the Abyss Seed. If you die in my hands, I will definitely make you wish you were dead. He thought coldly in his heart. Not good, that's a Void God Emperor Abyss Seed. It is flying towards us. SSS, it really is a God Emperor Abyss Seed. Such terrifying power. We are doomed. When the small residents flew over, the disciples of the Sky Devil sect, Night Clan, and other forces who were massacred saw it and were in despair. They could not even defend against the current situation. Now, there was another existence. Ha ha ha, the God Emperor Abyss Seed is flying over. It is here to kill us. Not only will we die, but everyone in the Dragon Palace will die too. Ha ha ha. Suddenly, a slightly crazed voice was heard. His words stunned all the disciples of the Sky Devil sect, Night Clan, and other forces. Their frowning faces gradually revealed malevolent expressions. Some of the experts and disciples who had a stronger desire to survive had their eyes lit up. Perhaps, the arrival of this Void God Emperor Abyss Seed could give them a chance of survival. When a few roars were heard, Wang Xian sensed that a terrifying existence might be coming. However, this roar was very familiar to him. He even felt a tinge of intimacy. He stopped attacking the 4 guardians of the Imperial Court, who were already covered in injuries, and looked towards the depths of the abyss. A slightly malevolent, huge, and terrifying figure was flying over. Its speed was terrifying. Chapter 2772. Oh no, Dragon King, there's a Void Emperor-level abyss species flying over. When the small residents flew over, Tianzhen's gaze swept over it and he frowned slightly. He immediately warned loudly. The rest of the members of Dragon Palace stopped their attacks and stared at the enormous abyss species with vigilance. Emperor-level abyss species. Imperial Dynasty's 4 protectors panted heavily. When they saw the God-Emperor abyss type flying over, their expressions changed. Ha ha ha, this Emperor-level abyss species is here to attack us. It wants to destroy us. Dragon King, you're dead. You're dead. But very quickly, the 4 protectors' eyes were filled with excitement and ferociousness. Use this chance to escape. At the same time, the 4 of them transmitted their voices and shouted. The arrival of an Emperor-level abyss species was a chance of survival for them. With such an existence, the Dragon King and the rest of the members of Dragon Palace would not have the time to attack them. They could use this chance to escape. As long as they could escape, the Imperial Court could easily destroy the Dragon Palace. Even if the Dragon Palace had displayed terrifying strength, Wang Xian looked at the huge creature flying over. Although the creature in front of him gave him a familiar feeling, he could not let his guard down. After all, this was the first time he had seen such a creature. That Emperor-level abyss species is flying towards the Dragon King and the rest. They want to destroy them. Ha ha ha, retribution, retribution. Let's see how the Dragon King and the rest can escape from an Emperor-level existence. If we die, the members of the Dragon Palace will not survive. Neither will the Dragon Palace. A suspected Emperor-level abyss species was charging towards the Dragon King and the rest. This made the members of the Night Clan and Sky Demon sect excited and ferocious. This was their chance to escape and the chance for the Dragon Palace to be destroyed. The Dragon Palace might be in trouble. This battle was almost perfect. It's a pity that the Dragon Palace did not expect the Void Emperor-level abyss species to appear. At the entrance of the abyss, Zhu Xiao and the other forces looked into the abyss. When they saw this, some experts commented. An Emperor-level abyss species was a disaster for everyone. To the Dragon Palace, it was a disaster. Woo-woo. A roar rang out once more. At this moment, even Dragon Palace's Ao Xie and the other 200,000-strong army stopped their attacks. Once that God Emperor-level abyss species attacked them, they would immediately rush over to help the Dragon King and the rest. Alternatively, they could wait for the Dragon King's order and teleport away. The members of the Night Clan and the Sky Demon cult looked excited and ferocious as they stared at the scene. Wang Xian was on high alert. Roving Heavenly Array and the rest were also on high alert. The God Emperor-level abyss species was getting closer and closer. With their strength, there was no need for them to run, because their speed was too fast. There's a person on that God Emperor abyss seed. Suddenly, Mao Zedong stared at the huge creature and saw a figure on it. He was shocked. His words caused everyone to be slightly shocked. There really is a figure. When the crowd looked over, their eyes widened and were filled with shock. Woo-woo. At this time, the huge creature was already tens of thousands of kilometers away from them. It stopped abruptly, its huge eyes staring straight ahead. To experts like them, tens of thousands of kilometers was just a dozen meters for ordinary people. This figure. Wang Xian stared at the figure on the huge creature and squinted his eyes. He was very familiar. The Earth Dragon Emperor, Tu Suanja. At this time, Tu Suanja stood on the roof of the small mansion and looked at Wang Xian. There's someone on top of this God Emperor-level abyss species? Who is he? Isn't this an abyss species, but a powerful God Emperor demonic beast? The 4 guardians of the Imperial Court saw the small mansion stop suddenly and were shocked to see someone on top of it. May I know who you are? We are the guardians of the Imperial Court. One of the guardians hesitated for a moment before bowing and asking respectfully. The name of the Imperial Court held a high status in the entire Resplendent Star. If it was a powerful God Emperor from other galaxies, they would also show them some respect. Behind them, the Dragon Palace, the Night Clan, the Sky Demon cult, and the other forces were also staring ahead with rapid breathing. Lord Dragon King, I'm Tu Suanja, the Earth Dragon Emperor, your biological son. However, at this moment, the Tuscan on the small residence ignored the protector of the Imperial Court. He flew towards Wang Xian and shouted with an exaggerated expression on his face. Wang Xian was taken aback by his words. At the same time, the surrounding people widened their eyes in disbelief. Daddy Dragon King, Master Lan Qingyu asked me to bring the small mansion to look for you. I've finally found you. I'm the Earth Dragon Emperor, your biological son. While Wang Xian was still in a daze, Tu Suanja had already come to Wang Xian's side. He knelt before Wang Xian and shouted excitedly. His expression was extremely exaggerated. Wang Xian looked at the Earth Dragon Emperor and pursed his lips. However, his eyes soon lit up. Did Lan Qingyu ask you to look for me? Wang Xian stared at him and asked immediately. Yes, Dragon King. Master asked me to look for you. This is the small mansion, Xiao Lan's younger brother, Master's second Leviathan. Tu Suanja replied immediately. Growl, growl. As soon as he finished speaking, the small residence in front of him let out a low roar, and its figure slowly flew over. With the intelligence of the small mansion, he knew that the person in front of him would be his other master in the future. The small mansion swayed his huge body and came before Wang Xian. He rubbed his head against Wang Xian. It's good that you're fine. It's good that you're fine. Small mansion, right? Not bad, not bad. Wang Xian caressed the small mansion's head and said with a smile. Growl, growl. The small mansion let out a low growl obediently. He moved his head slightly and came below Wang Xian. He lifted his head and let Wang Xian stand on it. How is this possible? What's going on? What's going on? When Wang Xian stood on the roof of the house, the four guardians of the imperial court, who were not far away, widened their eyes and recovered from the shock. They couldn't help but take a few steps back as they exclaimed in disbelief. What's going on? What's going on? A terrifying God-Emperor-level behemoth flew out from the abyss. It was the Dragon King's subordinate. That God-Emperor-level existence had completely treated the Dragon King as his master, and that pinnacle God King human addressed the Dragon King as his father, and he even said that he was the Dragon King's biological son. The Dragon Palace has an Emperor-level existence. Chapter 2773, Collapse. Shocking. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. A huge creature flying out of the abyss, they thought it would be their chance to escape. They thought that this was an Emperor God-level abyss species that would cause the Dragon Palace to suffer heavy losses or even destroy the Dragon Palace. They thought it was an Emperor-level abyssal creature that could destroy Dragon Palace. But they would never have imagined that such an existence was actually a subordinate of the Dragon King, a subordinate of the Dragon Palace. Everything was going to be different if Dragon Palace had a void God Emperor. The Dragon Palace actually had a void God Emperor, then everything would be different. It was an Emperor God. How could this be? How is this possible? That God Emperor level existence is the subordinate of the Dragon King? How is this possible? No, it can't be like this. I don't want to die, I don't want to die. An Emperor God. An Emperor God. It's Dragon King's subordinate. What did I see? What did I see? The four protectors of the imperial court were not the only ones who had broken down. Behind them, the members of the Night Clan and the Sky Demon cult, who had ferocious expressions on their faces, had also completely broken down. They also thought that this was an opportunity for them. That God Emperor level creature would attack Dragon Palace. But it was Dragon King's subordinate. This, their last chance of survival, had been completely destroyed. Now, they were 100% sure that they were all going to die. Their chance of survival was less than 1 in 10,000. Some people's eyes were lifeless as they stood there in despair, waiting to be killed. They were defeated, completely defeated. It was over. It was all over. Hiss. Unbelievable, unbelievable. Luckily we didn't become enemies with Dragon Palace. Void God Emperor. Dragon Palace has a Void God Emperor too. Who would have thought it would be like this? We're so lucky. If we were inside, Dragon Palace would definitely be destroyed. Even though Dragon Palace isn't as strong as the Imperial Court, they would still have to think twice before attacking Dragon Palace. The members of the Continent of the Nine Clouds, who were at the entrance of the deep chasm, were shaking. They were shocked and terrified. At the same time, They rejoiced in their hearts that a single decision had allowed them to escape a calamity. Everyone felt like they had just walked past the Grim Reaper. Ha ha ha, Dragon Palace is invincible, Dragon King is mighty. At this moment, the only ones who were excited were the Moon sect, the Beichuan sect, the Dragon Python group, and the ancient god dynasty. The Dragon Palace had an emperor-level existence. They knew what that meant. This meant that after today's battle, the imperial court would have to consider carefully if they wanted to destroy them. They were determined to fight to the death, and now they had an 80% chance of surviving. Better than ever before. They understood the Dragon King. As long as the Dragon Palace was around, they would not be in too much danger. Excited. This time, they had made the right choice. The Dragon Palace is invincible. The Dragon King is invincible. The tens of millions of disciples of the four forces roared in excitement, and their voices resounded throughout the entire abyss. Hiss, this. There was another person who was still in a daze. Night God Emperor. He had wanted to watch the Emperor God level existence destroy the Dragon Palace and then think of a way to leave this place. In the end, this was the situation. The Dragon Palace was much more powerful than the Night Clan. This made his face extremely gloomy, and his heart beat violently. Roar. He let out an incomparably sullen roar to vent his anger. His blood-red eyes shone brightly, and the void divine kingdom behind him shone with a brilliant blue light. He wanted to escape from this place. After he became an emperor god, even the emperor god of the imperial court congratulated him personally. The guardians of the imperial court also greeted him respectfully and addressed him as Lord Night God Emperor. Whoever he wanted dead, he could die. Not even the imperial court would restrain him. But now, he had to escape in a pathetic state. Sullen. Wang Xian heard the sullen voices above him, and he looked over. His eyes fell on the four guardians of the imperial court in front of him. At this moment, the four of them were in a daze, and they no longer had any fighting spirit. They looked at Wang Xian blankly, and they were filled with despair. Xiao Zhai, destroy them. Wang Xian ordered the Xiao Zhai below him. Woo woo. The Xiao Zhai nodded immediately, waved his arm, and swept his tail over. He. The four of them saw the attack from the Xiao Zhai, but they did not resist. Facing the attack of the Void God level, they were already severely injured, and had lost all resistance. With an Emperor God level existence in the Dragon Palace, they were not sure if the Imperial Court could take revenge for them in the future. Peng. The tail swept across, and the four guardians of the Imperial Court died instantly. They did not roar, nor did they say anything vicious. That was because the Dragon Palace was no longer a threat to them. The four guardians of the Imperial Court are dead. Everyone at the back trembled when they saw it. Dragon King, that Emperor Knight in the sky. At this moment, Tianjin suddenly looked at Wang Xian, squinted his eyes, and spoke to him. Huh! Wang Xian was taken aback as he looked at Tianjin. Dragon King, based on my observation, Emperor Knight isn't strong. With the one below you and the rest of us, we have a 50% chance of keeping him here. If that Emperor God level abyss species is with us, we will have an 80% chance of success. Tianjin's eyes flickered as he spoke. He made a throat-slitting gesture with a sinister look. Huh! Wang Xian's eyes lit up, filled with coldness and murderous intent. He stared at the battlefield of Emperor Knight and patted the Xiao Zhai lightly. Xiao Zhai, can you communicate with that Emperor God level abyss species to fight against Emperor Knight? He squinted his eyes and asked the Xiao Zhai. Woo woo. The Xiao Zhai nodded, and a message was sent to Wang Xian's mind. Oh! Wang Xian raised his eyebrows slightly when he received the message. According to the Xiao Zhai, that Emperor God level abyss species was considered a friend. Tell it immediately that we will fight against that human Emperor God together. Wang Xian's eyes were burning as he roared. Woo woo. Woo woo. The Xiao Zhai roared at the Void God Emperor abyss species. The Void God Emperor abyss species responded immediately as it looked at Wang Xian and the rest doubtfully. However, it knew that the owner of the Xiao Zhai was a human, so it wasn't too surprised. Woo woo. The Xiao Zhai immediately sent a message to Wang Xian. That Emperor God level abyss species had agreed. Ha ha ha. Wang Xian couldn't help but burst into laughter when he heard the Xiaozhai. Tianzhen, all members of the Dragon Palace, let's kill the Emperor God together today. I want the probability of killing him to be 100%. He immediately ordered the leaders of the Sky Formation. Ha ha ha, great. Dragon King, let's kill the Emperor God together. The leaders of the Dragon Palace replied loudly. Chapter 2774. Huh? What is Dragon Palace trying to do? That's a voice. What is it? When the leaders of the Dragon Palace roared with fighting spirit, everyone was shocked once again. What did they mean? Killing an Emperor God? Night God Emperor, we've made a lot of preparations for today's battle, but there's been a huge change in our plan. Originally, our Dragon Palace's plan was for 10 peak divine kings to fight you alone while the rest of the Dragon Palace members killed the Night Clan's Imperial Court members. However, we were surprised. This divine emperor was able to hold him back. Now, we're ready for the next step of our plan. Night God Emperor, are you ready to die? Wang Xian looked at the Night God Emperor and asked with his lips curled into a smile. This Dragon King wants to kill Night God Emperor. SSS, how is this possible? How can an Emperor God be killed so easily? Are the Dragon Kings of Dragon Palace crazy? Trying to kill Night God Emperor? All the people in the back stared with their eyes wide open, their expressions filled with shock. Today, the Dragon Palace had given them too many shock. Ha ha ha, Dragon King, I wonder if you've really become arrogant. How dare you try to kill me? Dream on. I, Night God Emperor, will repay you tenfold for what you've done to the Yongchang Void. Night God Emperor's face darkened when he heard Wang Xian. He roared with a hideous expression. As an Emperor God, even if Dragon Palace had an Emperor God, even if the Abyssal Seed and the Emperor God from Dragon Palace were to join forces, he was confident that he could escape. As for the 10 peak divine kings, it was impossible for them to fight him. After he became an Emperor God, he knew that an Emperor God and a divine king were two different levels. Even a peak divine king would find it hard to defend against a newly advanced Emperor God without the joint attack of 20 to 30 peak divine kings. Even if it was 20 to 30 peak divine kings, an Emperor God could still kill them all after some time. Next, the Emperor God from Dragon Palace would at most attack. As for Dragon King and the rest, they couldn't come close at all. The horrifying aftermath could severely injure or even kill them. This was the strength and terror of an Emperor God. Ha ha ha, good, good. Today, our Dragon Palace will knock you off your pedestal. Dragon Palace leader, get ready. Wang Xian laughed maniacally as he roared. Buzz buzz buzz. While Wang Xian and the rest were talking, the heaven array had already arrived at the Dragon Peak. The entire Dragon Peak emitted a dazzling green light, and the 3 thorn monsters returned to the Dragon Peak. Soon, thorns emerged from the inside and condensed into a thorny monster. However, this time, all the thorns were used to form a thorny monster. This bramble monster was 10,000 meters tall, and each of its thorns was 10 meters in diameter. They were filled with sharp thorns. There were holes on Thorn's head, 2 arms, chest, 2 legs, and the back of its tail. Everyone get ready. Today, our Dragon Palace will slaughter an emperor. Tianzhen's blood was boiling at this moment. He moved and directly flew towards the hole in the thorny monster's head. Slaughter an emperor. Wang Xian let out a soft roar. In a flash, he flew towards the thorny monster and landed on its chest. Slaughter an emperor. Roving Heavens and the rest roared as they flew towards the holes on the thorny monster's chest. This action was similar to what Tianzhen had done to capture Long Lei alive. However, the difference this time was that the entire array had condensed into a thorny monster. Tianzhen, Wang Xian, Roving Heavens, and the rest of the 10 pinnacle immortal kings had all entered the body of the thorny monster. He, we have to participate in something like slaughtering an emperor. At this time, Orokai and Demon Fiend flew over quickly. When the heavenly formation saw this, he smiled and opened 2 more holes. Buzz buzz buzz. Soon, the 12 pinnacle immortal kings had all entered the body of the thorny monster. Activate the energy. Today, let the Dragon King witness the powerful array created by Tianzhen. Tianzhen was at the head, and his eyes were filled with excitement and fanaticism. This was the array he had created after he became Dragon Witch, and it was also the array he was most proud of. He, Dragon Witch, had 9 attributes. Although each attribute was ordinary, he could switch between them quickly. Wang Xian and the rest released their energy into Tianzhen's body. Through his 9 attributes, Tianzhen was able to convert them into the most terrifying attack. Activate! Tianzhen roared, and Wang Xian and the rest released their energy immediately. Boom! In the next instant, the entire thorny monster seemed to have come to life, and a majestic aura surged forward. This aura was no weaker than an emperor god. What? What is this? How can it have such a terrifying attack? I can feel that this power is no weaker than me. In fact, it might even be stronger than me. Oh no! When the thorny monster unleashed its full power, Night God Emperor's expression changed instantly when he sensed the aura. His eyes widened, and his pupils were filled with fear and panic. What's going on? They were only a dozen pinnacle immortal kings. How could they unleash such terrifying aura? He had a bad feeling about this. He had just advanced to the Emperor God realm, and his strength was the weakest among the Emperor gods. If there were 3 Emperor gods of the same level and slightly stronger than him attacking him, he might really die here. At the thought of this, he felt uneasy. Ha ha ha, fight! Tianzhen roared excitedly, and his voice was filled with battle intent. Xiao Zhai, attack! Get that Emperor God Abyss species to cooperate with us. Wang Xian roared, and ordered Xiao Zhai. Woo woo! Xiao Zhai responded immediately, and with a move, he charged towards Night God Emperor. The other Emperor God Abyss species shot out flames from its eyes, and the flames on its body burned brightly. Boom boom boom! The thorny monster took a step forward, and with Tianzhen as its brain, he controlled every move of the monster. Its huge arm swept across. Wang Xian and the rest were inside the body of the thorny monster, acting as energy. The attack started immediately. Father Dragon King, I want to join in as well. I, Tu Zhai, can also contribute my strength. At the back, Tu Zhai was shocked to see the Dragon King and the rest gathering on a thorny monster, and unleashing the aura of a Void Emperor. The Dragon King was indeed the Dragon King. The Dragon Palace was indeed the Dragon Palace. In the future, he had to hug the thigh of the Dragon King tightly. This was the husband that his master had been thinking about day and night. This was the Dragon King who created the true Dragon Son of Heaven. Chapter 2775. Hiss, the Dragon King wants to kill an emperor. The Dragon Palace wants to kill Night God Emperor. The behemoth that listens to the Dragon King is already attacking. That Abyss God Emperor can communicate with the Dragon King. What's that? How can something formed by a formation have such power? It doesn't feel any weaker than a God Emperor. Is this the true power of the Dragon Palace? From what the Dragon King said, that terrifying bramble monster was created to fight against Night God Emperor. Can that monster fight against Night God Emperor? It's possible. After all, Night God Emperor has just become a God Emperor. He didn't have time to consolidate his power before joining the war. Could the Dragon Palace really kill the Night God Emperor? The fall of a God Emperor, this. When everyone at the back saw the Dragon King and the group of people from Dragon Palace attacking Night God Emperor, all of them widened their eyes. What a magnificent scene this was. Who had seen the fall of a God Emperor in their lifetime? If not for the Abyss War, they wouldn't have seen a God Emperor fight. As for the fall of a God Emperor, there was an event that shocked the entire bedazzling star territory tens of millions of years ago. It was called the Battle of Emperors. The Battle of Emperors' fall had sent the 7 regions into a frenzy. It was a civil war in the heavenly witchcraft domain that broke out at the edge of the imperial star territory. After the battle, a vast battlefield of Emperors' fall had been formed. Tens of millions of years had passed since then. Ordinary god kings could still be severely injured or even killed by the chaotic energy inside. It was easy to imagine how fierce that battle was. Although the battle ahead might not reach that level, it was still terrifying. No matter what, this battle would go down in history. And they were the witnesses of that historic battle. Everyone held their breath and stared ahead in a daze. It's a pity that I, the Tuscan, can't participate in this war. But it's all right. Brothers of the Dragon Palace, let's watch the Dragon King and the others kill that little rascal. Ha ha ha. The Tusonian laughed heartily as he retreated to the back. So it's you pieces of trash who want to destroy the Dragon Palace. TSK TSK. Just watch for now. When Night God Emperor dies, you can all kill yourselves. Out of the range of the battlefield, the Tuscan scanned the Night Clan and the Sky Demon cult. He came to the front of the people of Dragon Palace in a very familiar manner. Boom boom boom. Just at this moment, the terrifying sound of energy colliding could be heard, causing everyone to shiver slightly. Their gazes shifted away from the Homo sapiens who had been talking too much. In the abyss ahead, green wood elemental energy, sky blue water elemental energy, violent fire elemental energy, and grey special energy instantly enveloped a radius of several billion kilometers. That world looked like it was the end of the world. The terrifying collisions made it impossible to see what was going on inside. One could vaguely see a sky full of thorns flashing in that side of the world. Even though they couldn't see it clearly, everyone stared at it with wide eyes. Some of the more daring ones even entered the abyss to take a closer look. Bam! At this moment, a terrifying collision sound rang out. Everyone felt the sky blue light in the distance tremble. Just now, the Night God Emperor was at a disadvantage when facing the Flame God Emperor's abyss seed, and it was extremely difficult for him to escape. Now that he is surrounded by 3 people of the same level, he is definitely at a disadvantage. Everyone exclaimed as they looked at the sky blue light trembling. At the same time, in the abyss, Xiaozhai's long and terrifying tail swept across the Void God Kingdom in the center. The terrifying attack caused the entire Void God Kingdom to tremble violently. Above them, cracks appeared on the buildings. Oh no, oh no. What kind of existence is this damned creature? How can it be so huge? And how can the attacks of the Dragon Palace be so terrifying? At this moment, the Night God Emperor's face was filled with anxiety. He had brought the Void God Kingdom here to increase his combat power. The entire Void God Kingdom covered an area of tens of millions of kilometers. However, the size of that huge creature was at least 70 to 80 kilometers. It was extremely terrifying. When his attack landed on the Void Divine Kingdom, it could easily cause significant damage. Facing such an attack, he couldn't resist at all. Because he still had to face the attacks of 2 other people of the same level. Just to resist the experts of the Dragon Palace and the Flame God Emperor's Abyss Seed, he had already suffered some injuries. Facing the attack of that huge creature, he could only watch. But if he allowed it to continue, the entire Void God Kingdom would be heavily damaged or even collapse. Once the Void God Kingdom collapsed, he would also suffer a backlash and be heavily injured. If this continued, he would be finished and could only wait for death. No, no, no. I've only just become a Void God Emperor. I still have a long time. I, the Night God Emperor, can't die here. Run. He gritted his teeth and roared in his heart. The Void God Kingdom and his body shone with powerful light. Water from the heavens, connect the heavens. With a roar, he shot up into the sky like a stream of water. His body turned into a long line from top to bottom. Within this line, his speed was abnormally terrifying. Haha, do you think it's possible to escape? The heavenly formation saw that the Night God Emperor wanted to abandon his Void God Kingdom and flee. His eyes shone with a sinister light. At his peak, he had been dozens of times stronger than the Night God Emperor. That battle of Emperor's Fall had shaken the entire starry sky. His experience wasn't something a peak God King expert could compare to. It wasn't something an ordinary God Emperor could compare to either. In this form, he could explode with the full might of a God Emperor. Whoosh 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 whoosh. The water connected the sky, and so did the thorny vines. The thorny vines intertwined and shot up into the sky. Damn, such fast reflexes. The Night God Emperor saw that the sky water line above him had been stopped, and the thorny vines had entered the water line and were attacking him like poisonous snakes. This caused his heart to sink. Even the Flame God Emperor's Void Seed had no time to react to his escaping move, but it had been stopped by a guy formed by a formation. How could they be so strong? The moment the Night God Emperor was stopped, an incomparably huge flaming claw attacked him directly. Water sky. His expression was extremely dark as he roared. Splash! Around him, the rain covered the entire space. He immediately dove into the rain. Bang! The huge flaming claw missed its target. Boom, boom, boom! But at this moment, sounds of destruction came from below. The Night God Emperor paled slightly and looked down with his blood-red eyes. That colossal creature continued to attack his Void God Kingdom. Chapter 2776. Seeing that his attack was dodged, the Emperor-level Abyss Demon was embarrassed. He lifted his head and let out a roar. Streams of horrifying flames were spat out from his mouth. Each ball of flame was like a miniature version of himself. They emitted a violent aura and attacked all the raindrop. The flames collided with the sky-blue raindrops. The entire space looked extremely horrifying. All of you, get lost. Night God Emperor's figure was forced out as he roared at them with bloodshot eyes. Trident. He roared and extended his palm downwards. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Below, the entire Void God Kingdom shook and a sky-blue radiance shot up into the sky. A trident blue weapon appeared in his hand. The weapon was 2 meters tall and emitted a horrifying aura. You forced me to do this. Let me tell you, even if I die today, one of you will die with me. Night God Emperor's hands trembled as he held the weapon in his hand and roared with a hideous expression. This weapon was once the strongest weapon of his ancestor and the most precious treasure in the entire Void God Kingdom. Similarly, it was this weapon that suppressed the entire Void God Kingdom. Without this weapon, the defense of the Void God Kingdom would be weakened by half. He had just broken through to the Void God Emperor realm and had not been able to control it perfectly. It could not differentiate between friend and foe. This was also the reason why he had not used it. But now that he had been forced into a corner, he had to give it a try. It's just an Emperor-level divine weapon. It hasn't reached rank 2 yet. You're still too weak. Even with this divine weapon, you can't save your life. Seeing the divine weapon in Night God Emperor's hand, Skyformation's eyes were filled with coldness as he roared. Is that so? You guys from Dragon Palace are courting death. If I'm going to die, you guys will be the first to die. Night God Emperor's face was filled with malice as he charged towards Wang Xian and the rest. Beside him, the Emperor-level Abyss Demon didn't care about their nonsense. It flapped its huge wings and condensed into red flaming meteorites that smashed towards Night God Emperor. Wang! Clang, clang, clang! The 3-pronged divine weapon in Night God Emperor's hand trembled. Rays of sharp light aimed at the surroundings and directly broke through. The flaming meteors were directly destroyed by the sharp edge of the trident divine artifact. Roar, roar! When the God Emperor-level Abyss species saw this, it was slightly surprised. The Night God Emperor, who was wielding this trident divine weapon, was clearly much stronger than before. At the very least, he could contend against it. Boom! The Night God Emperor's eyes were bloodshot as he locked his gaze on the thorny monster's chest. Hee. When Tianjin saw him charging over, a look of contempt appeared on his face. Su. The next moment, the sky full of thorns attacked the Night God Emperor. Each thorn was 10 meters thick and looked like a giant snake in the starry sky. It was incomparably terrifying. Break! Night God Emperor gritted his teeth and raised the trident divine weapon with trembling hands. A sky-blue light burst forth from the trident and the sound of flowing water could be heard continuously. Dripping water wears stone. He roared furiously, and some sky-blue water droplets pierced through his arm, causing a large amount of blood to gush out. He gritted his teeth and his eyes were filled with madness. To him, the Dragon Palace was undoubtedly the easiest to break out of the 3 existences of the same level. As long as he could kill the experts of the Dragon Palace, he was confident that he could escape. Die! He let out a hoarse voice as the trident shone brightly and pierced through the thorns one by one. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The piercing sound was incessant, but soon, his expression changed. Because it had been a second, and he had not taken a single step forward. This caused his expression to change drastically. To an God Emperor, a lot of things could be done in a second. At this moment, the Flame God Emperor Abyss species was charging towards him. How is this possible? With the power of the trident divine weapon, how can it not break through the defense of this thorny monster? He was extremely gloomy and couldn't help but roar. Bam, bam, bam. But at this moment, there were sounds of destruction coming from below. He held the trident vertically in front of him to withstand the attack of the Flame God Emperor Abyss species and looked down. Below him, a third of his void divine kingdom had been destroyed. This caused his face to turn slightly pale. If the void kingdom suffered too much damage, he would also be severely injured. Swish, swish, swish. However, before he could react, thorns suddenly whipped towards him. Oh no, the Dragon Palace can still attack, and such a powerful attack at that. It was as though a willow had descended from the 9 heavens. Sensing the power, Night God Emperor's expression changed drastically. To him, the monster formed by the Dragon Palace was the weakest. Although his attack had been blocked, it should have consumed a lot of its energy. Now, he realized that everything was wrong. Boom, boom, boom. Thorns after thorns attacked him, causing him to spit out blood uncontrollably. His body flew backwards. Roar, roar, roar. At this moment, the Abyss species pounced towards him and tried to devour him with its huge mouth. The crisis of death loomed over Night God Emperor. Ah, divine rain domain. His eyes were bloodshot as he roared. The Void Kingdom shone brightly and raindrops appeared within a radius of billions of kilometers. As the raindrops fell on him, they disappeared instantly. Law divine powers. Wang Xian mumbled to himself as he saw this. Law divine powers were the most powerful means of God Emperors. They could change the world and were extremely powerful. Within such a divine power, the user could mobilize all the energy in the area, just to struggle before death. Night God Emperor, don't even think of escaping with a single raindrop. Tianjin roared as green leaves bloomed from the monster's body. These leaves weren't physical and were similar to the array that had enveloped Dragonstar previously. The misty leaves immediately spread out, completely covering the entire rainfield. This is impossible. This is impossible. You guys aren't God Emperor level experts. How can you release law divine powers? How is this possible? At this moment, a voice of disbelief was heard from a corner of the rain domain. Law divine powers could be touched by a peak god king, but it was impossible for them to release such powerful divine powers. The scene before him was completely beyond his understanding. Because I'm a sorcerer. I'm the strongest sorcerer in this resplendent starry sky. Tianjin's arrogant voice was heard. He was actually bragging. At most, he would call himself a junior sorcerer. He was still far from being a sorcerer. Chapter 2777. Sorcerer? Sorcerer? Night God Emperor's figure appeared in the rain domain. His expression kept changing when he heard Sky Formation's words. How can you be a sorcerer? You're talking nonsense. He roared in disbelief. He knew a little about sorcerers. The strongest force in the Sky Sorcerer domain was the Sorcerer Association. Their ultimate goal was to become a sorcerer. But how many in the entire Sorcerer Association would dare to call themselves sorcerers? He looked around and realized that his rain domain was completely covered by a wood-based energy. He was extremely embarrassed. The nomological mystique, rain domain, was his greatest trump card. After using the rain domain, as long as a drop of rain escaped from here, he would be able to escape with it. But now, his rain domain was covered and he was completely trapped. This gave him a very bad premonition. Sky Formation's face was filled with coldness when he heard his doubts. He waved his arm and several thorns lashed at Night God Emperor. TSK, TSK, TSK. You've hit a sore spot for Sky Formation. Kill him. Orokai and Demon Fiend let out sinister laughter. Rumble, rumble, rumble. When Sky Formation controlled the thorny monster to attack, terrifying flames suddenly rose. The surrounding temperature rose abruptly. That God Emperor level existence has also released nomological mystique. Night God Emperor, prepare to die. Ha ha ha. Wang Xian and the rest could feel the terrifying flames. Their eyes lit up as they roared with laughter. Oh no, is I, Night God Emperor, going to die here? I can't accept this. The Night God Emperor trembled as he looked at the rising flames and the thistles and thorns rushing towards him. His eyes were filled with indignation. He had just advanced to become a God Emperor. Bam, bam, bam. Fart. At this moment, violent noises sounded continuously from below. Night God Emperor's body trembled as he spat out a huge mouthful of blood. His eyes were also overflowing with tears of blood. He looked down hurriedly. More than half of his void divine kingdom had already been destroyed. No. He roared in despair with tears of blood all over his face. The God Kingdom was the energy source of a god. Once the God Kingdom was destroyed, one's recovery ability would be greatly weakened. In fact, the destruction of a divine kingdom would cause great harm to one's body. After that, every time the mana destroyed the void God Kingdom, the Night God Emperor's injuries would worsen. His divine kingdom had been destroyed, and now he was facing 2 attacks of the same level. The crisis of death was already lingering in his heart. Crackle. At this moment, the Inferno Divine Emperor had already released his Abyss-type nomological sacred art. The sound of fire-burning raindrops rang out. Night God Emperor's face was covered in blood. He was in a frenzied state as he gripped the 3-pronged divine weapon tightly. Dragon Palace, Dragon King, even if I die today, I will take you with me. I'll fight it out with you. He roared crazily and poured all the energy in his body into the trident divine weapon. The 3-pronged divine artifact radiated a vast law of water. His entire body seemed to have fused with the trident artifact. He directly turned into a blue light and attacked the thorn monster. Everything that happened today was caused by the Dragon Palace, the Dragon King and the others. The death of the Night Clan disciple and his current situation were all because of the Dragon Palace. Now that he was facing the threat of death, his heart was filled with indignation and rage. Everything was because of the Dragon Palace. Even if he died, he would kill everyone from the Dragon Palace. Here. Seeing the incoming attack, Skyformation's eyes were cold and murderous. This. Did you hear the sound inside? Did you hear it? It's Night God Emperor's roar. It's Night God Emperor. He has been forced into a corner. It's over. It's over. What's going on inside? Is Night God Emperor going to die? Does Night God Emperor want to perish together with the Dragon King? Our old ancestor, he. The sounds of the battle in front of them rang out incessantly. When the roars of the Night God Emperor rang out, everyone's eyes widened in shock. Night God Emperor's voice was filled with grief and indignation. They could already imagine Night God Emperor's situation. All the disciples of the Night Clan who were still alive had the color of death in their eyes. Once their old ancestor, their God Emperor, perished, the Night Clan would be completely finished. A God Emperor is going to perish? At the entrance of the abyss, the experts of Ju Xiao Tian Broken Sky were trembling. A God Emperor perished. A God Emperor perished. How many God Emperors were there in the entire Imperial Star region? Now one was going to perish. Moreover, Night God Emperor had just become an God Emperor. Is Night God Emperor going to perish together with the Dragon King? Is the Dragon King going to die too? Very likely. After all, Night God Emperor is a true God Emperor. Even if he is killed, the Dragon King and the others will have to pay a price. Moreover, the Dragon King and the others used a special method to fight against Night God Emperor. If Night God Emperor really wants to save some people, he can still do it. The experts at the side were discussing. This battle had truly broadened their horizons and shocked their hearts. Boom boom boom. I can't accept this. To think that I, Night God Emperor, have just become an God Emperor. I still have endless life and endless power. I can't accept this, I can't accept this. At this moment, a voice filled with despair and indignation resounded in the sky. Within a radius of tens of billions of kilometers, even the planets at the front line could hear it clearly. Along with the screams and indignation, there was a series of roars. Upon hearing this voice, everyone trembled. They widened their eyes for a long time and even their eyes were a little bloodshot. At this moment, in the center of the battlefield, there was a completely collapsed void god kingdom. In the sky above, there was a corpse floating. The corpse was covered in flames and tiny thorns pierced through his body. He widened his eyes and lay there with indignation. The sky formation controlled the thorny monster to fly over slowly and looked down at Night God Emperor from above. Cough cough, cough cough. Night God Emperor used his last bit of vitality to support his body and stared at Wang Xian. He was going to die. Before he died, he didn't even kill a single expert from the Dragon Palace. Don't be so indignant. When you dared to kill my disciple, your ending was already decided. It's just a few years less of your life. Wang Xian stared at Night God Emperor and said plainly. You. He opened his mouth and wanted to speak, but a large amount of blood gushed out. He, as an God Emperor, you could have lived a carefree life and led the Night Clan to the peak. It's a pity that you have offended the Dragon Palace, Wang Xian said slowly. He waved his arm and the claw formed by the law landed on his head. Bam! The new God Emperor had fallen. Emperor Fall. Chapter 2778. Swoosh. When the life force of the Night God Emperor completely disappeared, raindrops appeared out of nowhere in the abyss and fell downwards. It was raining in the abyss. The fall of a powerful existence was usually accompanied by a change in heaven and earth. It was especially so for someone of Emperor Knight's level. The terrifying energy from the dissipation of his vitality could affect the abyss here. Emperor Knight might be the shortest living emperor in this resplendent starry sky. Back when he became an emperor, he was the center of attention and looked down on everyone. The Dragon Palace, which was even stronger than the Night Clan, was called a small dragon palace. But now, Emperor Knight had fallen in the hands of the Dragon Palace. This might be something that he could never have imagined back then. Seeing the fall of the Night God Emperor and the fall of a human God Emperor, the Fire Void God Emperor Abyss type let out an excited roar. It swept its gaze across Wang Xian and the group, and then fell on the small mansion. Woo. The small mansion transmitted some information to it and flew towards Wang Xian's location. Hee. Wang Xian chuckled. With a swift move, he landed directly on the top of the mansion. He waved his arm and put away the Night God Emperor's corpse. At the same time, he also put away the Void God Kingdom. It's raining. It's raining in the abyss too. This is. When Emperor Knight flew over after becoming an emperor, he was accompanied by rain. The rain now gives off a sorrowful feeling. This is a sign that Emperor Knight has fallen. The Night God Emperor has fallen. Behind them, everyone's jaws dropped when they saw the sudden heavy rain. From the heavy rain, they had already received a message. An Emperor Knight had fallen. At this moment, everyone from the Night Clan and Sky Demon sect felt their vision go dark. Although they already had an answer in their hearts, it was still hard for them to accept the outcome. Their faces were ashen and their hearts were dead. Emperor Knight has fallen. Where are the Dragon King and the rest? At the entrance of the abyss, a group of experts stood there and stared into the abyss. Emperor Knight had fallen, but what about the Dragon King and the rest? Were there any experts who were killed by the Night God Emperor's counterattack before his death? It's here. Look. At this moment, exclamations sounded and everyone looked into the abyss. A huge monster slowly appeared in everyone's line of sight. On both sides of the gigantic creature, there were more than 10 figures lined up in a row. That was the group of peak God King powerhouses of the Dragon Palace. That's the Dragon King. At this moment, everyone saw the Dragon King standing on the head of the gigantic creature, looking down at the void in front of him. The Dragon King is not dead. Not a single expert of the Dragon Palace is dead. Hiss, Night God Emperor's final counterattack didn't even kill a single one. Seeing the gigantic creature slowly flying over, everyone's faces were filled with shock. The Night God Emperor was dead, but everyone in the Dragon Palace was alive. Wang Xian stood on the top of the mansion. With his speed, he soon arrived in front of the disciples of the Dragon Palace. In the center of the Dragon Palace disciples were a group of experts and disciples from the Night Clan and the Heavenly Devil cult. Night God Emperor is dead. Wang Xian stood on the house and uttered these 5 words plainly. The Night God Emperor was dead. Ha, the Night Clan is finished. We're finished. Pu. Wang Xian's words silenced the surroundings. Before long, a calm laughter filled with despair was heard. As soon as he finished his sentence, he held the sharp sword in his hand and committed suicide. Their fates had been decided. Their faith had collapsed and they were at their wits' end. They might as well commit suicide. Hee. Let's die together. After one person committed suicide, many old and middle-aged men closed their eyes and shouted loudly, "Hey, don't be so sad. Don't be so miserable. Today is a good day. The winner takes all. Congratulations on your defeat. Die happily." Demon Fiend looked at those who had committed suicide and laughed heartily. There wasn't the slightest emotion on his face. That's right. Today is a good day. Everything that you want will come true. Today is a good day. Let's welcome the spring breeze when we open our doors. Orokai grinned. Fuck, brother, why are you singing? Ha ha ha, the Dragon King is invincible. The Dragon Palace is invincible. Tucson looked at Demon Fiend Orokai and was slightly speechless. Following which, he raised his arm and shouted, "The Dragon King is invincible. The Dragon Palace is invincible." The rest of the members of the Dragon Palace were also exhilarated as they shouted, "The Dragon King is invincible." The words Dragon Palace is invincible reverberated throughout the abyss. Clean up the surroundings. Let's get out. Wang Xian looked at the members of the Night Clan and Sky Devil sect and said coldly, "Yes." The members of the Dragon Palace listened to the order. The Night Clan did not have many people to begin with. In less than 20 seconds, they were all cleared. Facing the attack of the Dragon Palace again, they had lost all resistance. All they could do was close their eyes and wait for death. Just as Demon Fiend had said, the winner takes all. If the Dragon Palace was weak, it would be the Dragon Palace waiting to be slaughtered. The ones who died would be the disciples of the Dragon Palace. North River Sect, Dragon Python Group, Ancient God Dynasty, bring your disciples back to the Devil's Island first. Go to a place near our Dragon Palace planet. Don't worry. The Dragon Palace will handle the rest. Wang Xian looked at the members of the North River Sect and said, "Yes, Dragon King. Thank you, Dragon King. We have been indebted to the Dragon Palace. Today, we are just asking for peace of mind," the members of the North River Sect said excitedly. Wang Xian nodded his head plainly. The members of the Dragon Palace quickly cleaned up the battlefield and picked up the corpses. This time, the Dragon Palace had gained a lot. "Dragon King, it's done," Prime Minister Turtle reported excitedly. Soon, the entire Abyss battlefield was cleaned up. "Let's go." Wang Xian nodded his head with a smile. Buzz buzz. The Dragon Peak started moving. Some members of the Heaven's Eye Arrow unit entered the Dragon Peak. The rest of the 200,000 experts of Dragon Palace accompanied the Dragon Peak and flew out of the abyss in a mighty manner. When they came, they were surrounded by enemies. When they returned, they would be invincible. Woo woo. Xiao Zhai let out a low growl as he stared at the world outside the abyss with curiosity. The Dragon Palace is out. The Dragon King is out. Outside the abyss, Zhu Xiao and the other experts and disciples were a little flustered when they saw the Dragon Palace flying over. All of them looked at the gigantic creature in awe, looking at the Dragon King on top of it. "We didn't go against the Dragon Palace. I don't think the Dragon King will kill us. Let's pay our respects," the Laozu of the Nine Heavens sect said to all the disciples. "Welcome back to the Dragon Palace. Congratulations, Dragon King." Chapter 2779, Welcome back to the Dragon Palace. Congratulations, Dragon King. Thunderous voices reverberated at the entrance of the abyss. Everyone from the Nine Heavens sect bowed down, their eyes filled with respect. This was respect from the bottom of their hearts. The Dragon Palace had won today's battle. The strength that the Dragon Palace had displayed had shocked them. A behemoth at the level of an emperor god, and the terrifying thorny monster from the Dragon Palace that could go against an emperor god. Close to 300,000 God King experts. Although their strength was much weaker than the Imperial Court, would the Imperial Court dare to fight against such a Dragon Palace? Especially when the Battle of the Abyss had broken out. Another point was that the Emperor God monster under the Dragon King could communicate with the Abyss species of the Emperor God level. What did this mean? No matter what, the current Dragon Palace had become a terrifying existence. Wang Xian swept his gaze across them and nodded. "Dragon King, the front line has been settled." At this moment, at the front lines, Du Ju led over 10,000 god kings of the Dragon Palace and flew over, reporting excitedly. Great. Wang Xian swept his gaze across the planets in front of him and revealed a faint smile. He patted Xiao Zhai's head and flew towards Du Ju. Sky Array, Prime Minister Turtle and the rest flew over immediately. Seeing this, Du Ju quickly followed suit. Dragon King, we've taken down all the planets. I've also killed that Imperial Court protector, but many of the Imperial Court experts escape. Du Ju came to Wang Xian and said fervently. He had done something huge. What about the teleportation array? Wang Xian asked. The teleportation array has been destroyed. It will take a day or two for the Imperial Court experts to arrive. Du Ju replied immediately. Even the Void Emperor will need 5 to 6 hours to reach such a distance. Heavenly Formation calculated for a moment before speaking. 5 to 6 hours? I'm afraid this place will be the abyss in 5 to 6 hours. Wang Xian murmured. Dragon King, we've gotten quite a lot of treasures and corpses of the abyss species. We've hit the jackpot, Du Ju said excitedly. Wang Xian chuckled and looked at the Tuscans beside him. Hee, Dragon King, it's me, the Earth Dragon Emperor. The Tuscans walked over to Wang Xian respectfully and chuckled as he spoke. Be honest. Where are Blue Moon and the others? Tell me about their situation. Wang Xian patted him and asked. Yes, Dragon King. You might not know this, but back then, when Master and Master Lingxiu were being hunted down, Xiao Lan brought them to escape and happened to meet this vile person. We entered the energy tide, passed through a long black hole, and entered a chaotic region. We almost died there. Luckily Xiao Lan and Master were powerful. But when we rushed out of the chaotic region, we met some disciples of the Imperial Court. At first, they were fine, but later on, they suddenly coveted Xiao Lan and wanted to obtain Xiao Lan. Master and the others naturally did not agree. After they wanted to kill Master, we killed them instead. However, we didn't know their background and strength at that time. In the end, we were hunted for a few years. Fortunately, Lil Blue grew up quickly and escaped the calamity time and time again. But because of Lil Blue's rapid growth, we attracted the attention of the experts of the Imperial Court. They wanted Lil Blue even more. Later on, we went through many hardships to escape to the Abyss Seed. Along the way, I almost died. Luckily, Master saved me. However, my Earth Divine Dragon real body and Master Lingxiu were separated from us during the escape. What? Lingxiu was separated from you guys? The Tuscans' Wang Xian's expression changed drastically. He interrupted her immediately with a murderous look in his eyes. Yes, Dragon King. But don't worry, Dragon King. My Earth Divine Dragon real body will protect Master Lingxiu. Moreover, I can sense that my real body is not dead yet. This means that Master Lingxiu will not die either. I, the Tuscans, guarantee with my life that as long as I'm not dead, Master Lingxiu will be fine. The Abyssal raised his head and said with a look of loyalty. Wang Xian looked a little embarrassed. He wasn't too worried about Qingyue's safety because she had inherited the legacy of the ancient god Kuan breeder and had Xiao Lan. She had many tricks up her sleeves. However, Sun Lingxiu didn't have so many tricks up her sleeves. Fortunately, the Dragon Palace did not sense Lingxiu's death. Continue. Wang Xian said with a solemn face. Yes, Dragon King. When we entered the abyss, the experts from the Imperial Court were still chasing us. However, the abyss was like a fish in water to Xiao Lan. Xiao Lan devoured a large number of abyss species and grew stronger. In the end, she possessed the strength of an emperor god. After Xiao Lan became an emperor god, we were safe. Master nurtured Xiao Zhai and later had a conflict with an emperor god abyss species in the abyss. After killing it, Xiao Zhai also possessed the strength of an emperor god. After that battle, we also got to know the other 2 emperor god abyss species in the abyss. We called them Huisho and Ming He. Ming He has been trying to stir up trouble and expand the abyss. Master and I are filled with hatred for the Imperial Court. Master Lingxiu's current situation is even more unknown. Therefore, we joined forces with Ming He Sho. However, we are mainly responsible for the border between Pingy Island and the Imperial Court. The war has yet to break out. The Tuscans changed his narration and stood beside Wang Xian respectfully. Imperial court. Wang Xian's eyes shone with cold murderous intent when he heard him. The Tuscans made it sound simple. However, Wang Xian could feel the dangers involved. To be able to force Lingxiu to be separated from the Green Moon and force an ancient god Kuan breeder to flee for a few years, they must have dodged all kinds of calamities and life-and-death crises. How's the situation over at the Green Moon? Wang Xian asked with a gloomy face. Dragon King, the situation over at Master's side is still fine. We have the advantage of the abyss. They won't dare to attack us. The Tuscans replied immediately. How long does it take to reach the Green Moon from the abyss over here? How long does it take to reach from the abyss over at the Devil Island? Wang Xian continued to ask with flickering eyes. With Xiaozhai's speed, it's about the same. The Tuscans pondered for a moment before replying. All right. All Dragon Palace disciples, get ready to return to the Dragon Palace. Prime Minister Turtle, declare war on the Imperial Court immediately. Wang Xian's eyes shone with murderous intent as he ordered the Dragon Palace members behind him. Yes, Dragon King. Yes, Dragon King. The group of members and Prime Minister Turtle answered immediately. Prime Minister Turtle took out the artificial intelligence system immediately and revealed a cold and ruthless expression. The Dragon Palace will declare war on the Imperial Court until one side is destroyed. Chapter 2780. The Dragon Palace will declare war on the Imperial Court until one side is destroyed. It was a very brief announcement. However, everyone knew very well what this line of words meant. All disciples of Dragon Palace, enter the Dragon Peak. At this moment, the Heavenly Formation Commander, Long Feng, came over and said to all the members. The members of Dragon Palace immediately flew towards the Dragon Peak. Dragon King, I can send the Dragon Peak back directly. If you want to send the small residents over, I will need half an hour to set up the formation. Tianjin flew over and said to Wang Xian. Yen, set up the array formation and bring the small residents over. Wang Xian replied immediately. It's Dragon King. Tianjin nodded. The group of Dragon Palace members entered the Dragon Peak. Slowly, the entire Dragon Peak became illusory and then disappeared. Little mansion, go over there and coordinate with the Heavenly Formation. Wang Xian transmitted his voice to the house. Woo woo. Xiaozhai shook his huge body and flew to the side. Heavenly Formation immediately set up a formation around him. The entire Dragon Peak has actually disappeared. This is a large-scale transmission array. At this moment, not far away, the experts of the various forces were shocked when they saw this scene. The array master of Dragon Palace is really terrifying. Some experts murmured. One should know that the entire Dragon Peak was the size of a planet. However, it could be teleported directly. This showed how powerful the array masters of the Dragon Palace were. This domain is about to be devoured by the abyss. Everyone, leave as soon as possible. At this moment, Wang Xian's voice sounded. Is this place going to be devoured by the abyss? Hiss. Upon hearing Wang Xian's words, everyone's expressions changed as they looked into the abyss. In their line of sight, a large number of abyssal species flew over, and everyone's expression changed slightly. Look at the AI. The AI has made a statement on Dragon Palace. At this time, an astonished voice rang out. Some people immediately opened their brains. The Dragon Palace will declare war on the Imperial Court until one side is destroyed. When everyone saw this line of words, their expressions changed. They had a bad feeling in their hearts. The Imperial Star region would soon descend into war. The Imperial Court, which had stood in the Imperial Star region for hundreds of millions of years, had finally met its match. The Dragon Palace's announcement had attracted the attention of countless people on the AI. Not long ago, the Dragon Palace attacked the Imperial Dynasty's frontline planet and killed the Imperial Dynasty experts and disciples. This matter had already caused a commotion in the Imperial Dynasty. The entire artificial intelligence system was full of curses for the Dragon Palace. A large number of comments said that the Dragon Palace was courting its own destruction. Now that they saw the Dragon Palace declare war on the Imperial Dynasty, numerous people on the computer laughed. Ha ha ha, this is the biggest joke in the world. This is the funniest joke I've ever seen in my life. A dragon palace actually declared war on the imperial court until one side is destroyed. Is there anyone who wants to die like this? What happened? Why did the Dragon King of Dragon Palace lose his mind and become so crazy? He actually declared war against the imperial dynasty. Can't you see that you are on the same level as the imperial dynasty? Ha ha ha, Dragon Palace is really arrogant. During this period of time, many people said that Dragon Palace is strong. Now, they actually dare to declare war against imperial court. I guess Dragon Palace won't survive more than 3 days. I'm guessing that one day later, a god emperor from the imperial court will descend upon the Dragon Palace and destroy it with a wave of his hand. Not long after the Dragon Palace released this message, it attracted countless replies. Seeing this message, everyone felt that it was ridiculous. In the eyes of everyone in the Imperial Star region, the Dragon Palace and the Imperial Court were like ants and elephant. They weren't on the same level at all. Even though they had just found out that Dragon Palace was attacking the frontline planets of the Imperial Court, they still found this declaration of war laughable. The frontline was because the Imperial Court and the Night Races, the Arch-Knight, had entered the Abyss to hunt the abyssal demons. Maybe the Imperial Court and the Night God the Arch would have already destroyed the Dragon Palace. The Night Race might have already destroyed it without the Imperial Court's help. A few days ago, the Night God the Arch had killed the Dragon King's disciple and the Dragon King didn't even dare to fart. Provoking the Imperial Court, what a joke. They didn't even dare to be arrogant in front of the Night God the Arch, let alone the Imperial Court. Hee hee. The people from the Ninth Cloud sect looked at the comments below with mocking expressions. The entire Imperial Star region didn't know what was going on here. Ancestor, why don't we spread the news? I really want to see the Imperial Star region's reaction. At this moment, an expert from the Ninth Cloud sect said with a smile. That's good too. Let's make it clear that we have nothing to do with this battle. The ancestor of the Ninth Cloud sect thought for a moment and nodded. After all, the Chasm battlefield incident was too shocking. They could already predict that the entire Imperial Star region would be shaken. Damn Dragon Palace, how dare they provoke the Imperial Court and attack our frontline planets while the Night Race and the Imperial Court aren't here? How many lives do they have? I thought that Dragon Palace wasn't bad, but now they're provoking us. We can't let them live. At the same time, in front of the Chasm battlefield at the border of Pingy Island and the Imperial Court, dozens of Imperial Court protectors gathered in a vast palace. It could be said that all the peak divine kings of the Imperial Court were here. The old protector holding a walking stick roared with a murderous look on his face. This old man was the peak divine king protector from the selection of princes and princesses. He was also a prince. Tiger, don't be angry. It's just a small dragon palace. They took advantage of the war in the Chasm battlefield. Our experts and the Night Races, the Arch-Knight God, all entered the Chasm battlefield. That's why Dragon Palace succeeded. After the Arch-Knight God and the others came out, we didn't even need to do anything. We could just hand them over to the Night Race. An old man next to him said calmly. Humph, if the teleportation formation wasn't destroyed, I would have brought people to kill them before the war broke out. A small dragon king dares to be so arrogant. The old protector holding the walking stick snorted coldly. Dragon Palace is just a small ant. The main battle here is still the war. Leave them to the Night Race, don't be distracted. Another old man next to him said with a smile. No matter what, we can't contact one of our guardians. He must have been assassinated by the Dragon Palace. This crime is enough to exterminate the entire clan of the Dragon Palace. After this battle, issue a kill order. All forces, planets, and people related to the Dragon Palace will be annihilated. A burly old man in the center said coldly. That's right. It's been hundreds of millions of years since anyone dared to provoke our Imperial Court. It's time to let the other forces in the Imperial Star region know the consequences of offending us. The surrounding old men nodded in agreement. Heh. Not good. Look at the AI. Suddenly, an old man's eyes widened, and his body trembled as he stood up and roared.